From Washington, this is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Good evening. When President Reagan left the hospital 9 days ago, his doctor said he'd probably be well enough to return to his desk in the Oval Office today. He didn't. Mr. Reagan's doctors still insist he's feeling good and working more every day. But today there came an indication from a person who should know that perhaps reports of the president's progress are being overstated. Leslie Stahl has the story.
There are some officials here who are beginning to feel and to say that too rosy a picture of the president's condition has been and is still being painted by the White House, and that expectations of how fast he will bounce back are too high.
It takes longer to recover from this kind of thing than maybe some of the earlier expectation. And I've watched him. I see him almost every day, and I see gradual improvement, but I also see times when he doesn't feel as good. Now, that's much less the case now that he's home than it was in the hospital. Frankly, he's doing very well. But he's not up to going to an 8-hour schedule in the Oval Office, and I don't think he should be pushed into it.
Apparent sensitivity about Mr. Reagan's age has made officials here reluctant to discuss his recovery in anything but optimistic, if not remarkable, terms. But reporters still have not been allowed to see Mr. Reagan, to question him or photograph him since he came home from the hospital. In fact, the only close-up pictures have been taken by White House staff photographers, and they've been carefully screened by White House officials before being released for public view. And now, even though his doctors had said he would probably be ready to return to work in the Oval Office today, it was announced that he would not. All that has raised suspicions to which aides are beginning to respond more candidly about how he does tire easily, about how he often sleeps during the day, and about how he often looks drawn. The president is, of course, doing more and more work, telephoning members of Congress about his economic program, working on a yet unscheduled economic speech, and tomorrow he'll meet with a group of governors. But he decided not to join Mrs. Reagan at the annual White House Easter egg hunt today.
How was the president today?
Fine, thank you.
He's missing all the fun.
I know, that's what he thinks too. How do you feel, Mrs. Reagan? Fine. Making a lot of fun.
White House officials deny they deliberately try to mislead the public about the president's condition. They say it was always clear that there would be a period of convalescence and that it would take 2 to 3 months before the president was totally up to speed. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
CBS News will present the first of 2 special broadcasts on President Reagan's first 3 months in office tonight at 11:30, 10:30 Central Time. Doctors say White House News Secretary James Brady is doing fine again today after developing a high fever and body rash over the weekend, apparently a reaction to medication. A different medication was tried and Brady's fever went down. Doctors say they don't think this will slow Brady's overall recovery from his wound in the brain. The Commerce Department reported today that the nation's economy grew at an annual rate of 6.5% for the first 3 months of the year. That's the biggest quarterly gain since the gross national product jumped 9% in the second quarter of 1978. Continued strong consumer spending, attracted by such retail promotions as automobile rebates, helped spur this year's fast start. But analysts still predict that there will be a slowdown in that growth rate over the next few months. The Dow Jones Industrial Average reached its highest peak since January 1973 today, and the stock market was up sharply.
A few years ago, I went to some insurance companies for health insurance. They said, "How old are you?" Well, I told them. They said, "Sorry, we're not interested." Then I found out about Colonial Penn. They specialize in health insurance for people my age. Now these other companies are saying, "Come on, we'll sell you health insurance." Well, if I wasn't good enough for them then, why am I good enough for them now?
Stay with the specialists. Colonial Penn.
IBM has a big surprise for you. Our executive copier.
It has excellent copy quality.
It's extremely reliable and comes with IBM service.
It's easy to use.
And it's very, very, very small. The IBM executive copier.
When court-ordered school busing for desegregation began in Los Angeles in September 1978, some officials were jubilant. Said one advocate, the schools did open uneventfully, peacefully, decently, and well. But whether busing reached a dead end or only a detour, the program came to a halt last night. And Linda Douglas now reports on what happened today.
Most of the 500,000 children in the Los Angeles school district have been untouched by the 3-year-old mandatory busing plan. Fewer than 1/4 of the city's students are white, simply not enough to integrate the primarily Hispanic and black schools. Nevertheless, 23,000 children have been riding buses anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to achieve integration. And the anti-busing majority on the LA School Board today claimed permanent defeat for busing and a victory for education.
Busing has not only been a tremendous financial and educational burden on this district, it's helped destroy support for public education, has helped divert scarce staff and teacher resources from our true mission of education.
Segregated education cannot be praised in any stretch of the imagination, and those members of the school board who are praising the separation of races at this day and age are acting very irresponsibly.
In the meantime, most of the children in the busing program chose to stay there rather than disrupt the school year. But more than 7,000 youngsters did return to their neighborhood schools today.
I don't like my child on a bus for 2 hours a day, wasting her time and possibly interrupting her ability to get her studies done.
For some children, the prospect of a new school in mid-year was too much to bear. Many others seemed relieved.
Because I don't really like riding on the bus that much.
Why not?
Because I have to wake up so early in the morning.
One federal judge said over the weekend the district can legally abandon busing as a remedy for segregation, but he added the basic right of Los Angeles minority children to an equal education remains unsolved. Linda Douglas, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Late this afternoon, the NAACP asked Justice Rehnquist for permission to withdraw its appeal for busing reinstatement. Well, foes of busing as a last resort for desegregation may take comfort in today's news from Los Angeles, but as Ed Rabel reports, a similar program seems to be rolling along in another community 10 years after many observers said it wouldn't work.
It has transcended almost all of the other emotional issues which tore the nation in the 60s and 70s. It is something almost everybody agrees on. They hate it. Even the president is against it.
I am heart and soul in favor of the things that have been done under the name of civil rights, desegregation, and so forth. I happen to believe, however, that busing has been a failure and is not accomplishing the purpose, the worthwhile purpose that gave it birth.
There are children here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and adults, too, who do not agree with President Reagan. It's time to come together to celebrate, they sing. It's time to come together. That's what blacks had in mind 10 years ago when they successfully pressed the courts to quicken the pace of desegregation here through busing, making Charlotte the place where it all began. It was a bad beginning. Students clashed, police were sent in, parents were bitter, whites fled to private schools, test scores dropped drastically, and all anybody seemed to be talking about was busing. But what Charlotte finally talked itself into was making it work.
I would say the folks in Charlotte, both black and white, knuckled under to an idea that if we absolutely had to do this, we were going to make it work as best we could for the children.
I think it was more in terms of leaders coming forth and suggesting to the community that this was perhaps the right thing to do. It was more important to the community to implement the change effectively than to raise obstacles and cause problems for students and teachers and the whole system.
All is not harmonious here 10 years after court-ordered busing began. Black enrollment is increasing, and the drift back to the public school system by whites is slowing down. But the police are gone from the school grounds. Race relations are better, and most of the children now in the public school system have known no other way.
I'll call out the element, you give me the symbol.
Test scores for both blacks and whites have risen higher than the national average. Special programs have been put in to improve learning.
You write the element it stands for.
Out in the community, busing has translated into more integrated neighborhoods. It is no longer unusual, no longer dominating conversation here.
Charlotte's made a very good adjustment to the busing decision. It has not been all good. I think there have been some pluses and some minuses, but on the whole, I think Charlotte has made a very good adjustment to it.
William Poe was opposed to busing 10 years ago when he was chairman of the Charlotte School Board.
From a standpoint of social involvement, social improvement, integration, generally race relations working out pretty well, I think it's on the plus side.
There is not yet universal acceptance of busing here. Most are resigned to what has happened.
Let's have a good time.
Some even nourish the hope that it will be reversed, and they are encouraged by their United States Senator, who is a leading anti-busing advocate.
Forced busing is the greatest folly ever perpetrated upon the children of this country. It has done no good. It has done irreparable harm.
I say in any community, if you can come up with a plan that accomplishes desegregation, great. That's fine. If you don't have to use a single bus, that's great. But if you can't do it, let's face it, it's time for us to move in. We're at the last end of the 20th century. It's time that the black be totally integrated into the society that we have.
Like most American communities, Charlotte is not yet totally integrated. But after 10 years, many agree this is not a bad beginning. Ed Rabel, CBS News, Charlotte, North Carolina.
The Supreme Court, by the way, refused today to curtail the authority of the Justice Department to go to court to force public schools to use busing where segregation exists. A suit against the government on that point had been filed by 2 schools in Ocala, Florida.
For National Secretaries Week, Susan got a rose complete with bud vase. Gwen received an appreciation corsage. Sharon's boss gave her a beautiful arrangement. Carol, she got a stunning hanging plant. And finally, Helen, she got, Helen receives a gorgeous bouquet. Don't forget your secretary during National Secretaries Week. She's done a lot for you.
There's an old saying about travel. Run with the wind. It means travel carefree, roam the world with ease. Now there's a traveler's check that helps keep the wind at your back, bearing the symbol recognized and respected the world over. Now, MasterCard Traveler's Checks. MasterCard Traveler's Checks.
Authorities say a body was found in the Chattahoochee River southwest of Atlanta today. That discovery came even as a medical examiner ruled in the case of a body discovered yesterday. Sam Ford reports.
For the 5th time in the past month and a half, a body has been found in a river in metropolitan Atlanta. This evening, a farmer's son walking his dog spotted the body of a black male in the Chattahoochee River southwest of the city. It is believed to be that of a child, although authorities have not yet said whether they think it is connected with the rash of slayings in the past 21 months. If it is, the death toll would rise to 25. Earlier today, the medical examiner said 15-year-old Joseph Bell had probably been dead of asphyxiation since shortly after he was last seen at this fast food restaurant March 2nd. He occasionally worked here cleaning up, and there are reports that he called this restaurant the day after he disappeared saying someone was killing him. Some employees believed it was a joke, and that Joseph, also known as JoJo, was too smart to get caught.
Yeah, very cool guy. You know, if you don't know you, back off. And whoever got him just played the trick good on us.
That sentiment was echoed at the Bell home today, where relatives and friends gathered to comfort a mother who had lost one of her 7 children.
JoJo was capable of handling himself, and whoever picked him up, he had to trust them.
You think this is an extremely smart person?
Right, clever, would be the word.
Police 2 weeks ago released this composite sketch of a suspect. Victim number 23, Larry Rogers, was last seen getting into a car with this man before his body was found. Police say they've gotten numerous telephone tips since the release of the composite sketch and that many people fitting the general description have been stopped and questioned, but no one has been charged. Sam Ford, CBS News, Atlanta.
In Tucson today, a federal judge sentenced rancher Patrick Hannigan to 3 years in prison for robbing and torturing 3 illegal aliens in 1976. A jury convicted Hannigan in February for assaulting 3 Mexicans on his ranch after they crossed the border in search of jobs. Mexican-American groups tonight decried the punishment meted out today as too lenient, but nonetheless called the sentencing a moment of victory. Closing off a street usually is nothing more than a neighborhood problem. But when the city of Memphis closed off a street with low concrete barricades, it became a national issue because the street connects black and white sections of the city. Today, in another Supreme Court ruling, the High Court ruled 6-3 that the barricade is not illegal, that intent to discriminate was not proved. The court said closing the street is justified to promote safety and tranquility in the area. A dissenting judge, Thurgood Marshall, said the ruling will allow cities, and I quote, to carve out racial enclaves. Yet another major Supreme Court decision today concerns the legal rights of mental patients. Fred Graham explains that one.
What's my mother?
Nancy Bowman lives in a large state home for the mentally retarded in Pennhurst, Pennsylvania. George Carantha is also retarded, but he lives in a state-funded community residence in Philadelphia. They are both plaintiffs in a lawsuit that alleges that the traditional system of locking up mentally retarded people in places like Pennhurst violated their rights.
Large institutions harm retarded people, but the greatest harm is not the occasional abuse of a resident. The greatest harm is the fact that people regress, they go backward, they lose skills, they unlearn things that they know when they're kept in large-scale institutions.
The lower courts agreed that Pennhurst should be closed down and the patients housed in the community, where there would be the least possible restraint on their freedom. State officials agreed that community housing is usually best, but they argued that it should not be a legal right.
Communities are not ready. Day programs are not in place. Medical systems are not ready to serve the retarded in community settings. It requires a whole change of attitude, which will not move as fast as the plaintiffs would like the solution to move.
Today, the Supreme Court overturned the lower court's order that Pennhurst must be closed. It said the mentally retarded have no legal right to avoid confinement in large institutions. But ironically, mentally retarded people may be helped by the case anyway. The evidence seems to have demonstrated that large institutions such as Pennhurst are often more expensive and less desirable than small community homes. So Pennsylvania plans to close down most of Pennhurst, and the trend could catch on in other states. Fred Graham, CBS News, Washington.
It was Easter Sunday night in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the closing hours of a peaceful day, and then the tornado struck. It hit part of Tulsa and the suburb of Bixby to the south. Fury displaced peace. 5 persons were killed, another 60 injured. In southwest Tulsa, property damage has been put at $100 million. David Dick reports.
Property loss figures were smaller here, but in terms of individual pain and suffering, it was devastating. Ron Wade, his wife and daughter lost everything except their lives.
All of a sudden we was tumbling, and my wife said, my leg is broke. And I said, well, hold on. I said, where are we? And she said, we're outside by the car.
Cleo Bernard, her husband, and 4 children were at home and heard the tornado coming.
We ran from that end of the house to the other corner over there into the sunken tub. And the whole wall just went around us. It just fell out, and I don't know how we didn't keep from getting sucked out of there.
All that's left of the Liberty Heights Free Will Baptist Church. The roof fell down on Easter services. The minister, the Reverend Bill McClellan, says the Lord must have saved the 30 people who were inside.
We were washing feet, having feet washing service, and we'd had communion before that. And this main beam is laying on the altar there, and if it hadn't been for that, well, there'd been some people killed.
In a trailer park this morning, Terry Cooper was picking through what was left of food from what had been a refrigerator. He was not at home when the tornado hit. Next door, it killed his sister, her husband, and their 2 small children.
From the looks of it, looked like they were getting ready to go to bed. The children were probably taking their bath.
Their bodies were scattered in a wheat field, and today there were only a few reminders that there once was a family here. David Dick, CBS News, near Bixby, Oklahoma.
Jackie, guess what? I booked another round-the-world tour.
Great. Have some coffee. Oh. Whoa. Only half a cup? I thought you loved automatic drip coffee.
I do. It's the caffeine I can do without.
That's why we're drinking Brim decaffeinated coffee.
This is Brim?
A new kind of Brim, specially developed for automatic coffee makers.
Brim automatic drip. If it tastes this rich, I won't stop at half a cup.
Fill your cup to the rim with Brim, new automatic drip.
Perfect eggs don't always start with the egg. They start with Silverstone. It's the most durable nonstick surface ever made by DuPont. And just to prove our point, we'll cook some eggs with these letters and still not hurt Silverstone's nonstick performance. See? So no matter what you're making, make sure you start with Silverstone. Silverstone spells durability.
There was weekend violence in at least 8 cities and towns in Northern Ireland as Roman Catholics in that troubled British province observed the 65th anniversary of the Irish Republic's uprising against British rule. But the most serious trouble over the weekend and again today was in Londonderry, the province's 2nd largest city. John Blackstone has a report.
The fighting began again in Londonderry at mid-afternoon, the 6th straight day that soldiers and gangs of young people have fought this way in the heart of the city. The rioters threw rocks and fire bombs. The soldiers answered with rubber bullets. The firebombs found targets other than the military. A post office building was attacked and 2 vehicles destroyed. This type of violence is not unusual in Londonderry, but there were fears the trouble would grow in response to the deaths of 2 teenagers hit by an Army Land Rover last night. Easter is always a time of tension in Northern Ireland, marking as it does the anniversary of the Easter uprising of 1916. But even before the deaths here in Londonderry last night, there was more tension than usual this Easter. That's mainly due to the hunger strike by Bobby Sands. Sands is the IRA member who was recently elected to the British House of Commons. He has now gone 51 days without food to back his demands for special status for IRA members as political prisoners. Today, he was visited in the prison hospital by 3 members of the Irish Parliament. They said he may have little more than a week to live.
I emphasized to him that the loss of life would serve no purpose. I said that if, as I thought that Mrs. Thatcher was so intransigent, he was bound to die if he were to continue on this course.
The violence of this Easter weekend is likely to continue as long as Sands' hunger strike continues. If he dies, security forces here expect a wave of IRA violence. John Blackstone, CBS News, Londonderry.
With unusual haste and no diplomatic tangles, Cuba today released 4 American sailors whose borrowed recreational boats from the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo strayed into Cuban waters yesterday. This quick release is seen by diplomats in Havana as a conciliatory gesture by Cuban President Fidel Castro. The sailors, who were held at a Cuban immigration station, were returned to the United States. The U.S. Navy today officially accepted liability for that collision 11 days ago of an American nuclear submarine and a Japanese freighter off Japan's southwest coast. The freighter sank, and its captain and a crewman are believed to have drowned. The Navy said that today's action was taken, quote, in order to preclude lengthy litigation, but it does not necessarily mean the Navy is accepting responsibility. Japan revealed today that the operators of a nuclear power plant covered up a leak of radioactive waste for 40 days. The leak, which occurred at the Tsuruga plant on the Sea of Japan, was discovered when radioactive materials were found in a connecting sewage system. It is not yet known whether any workers were affected. The government has ordered a safety check of all 22 nuclear power stations in Japan.
Mom!
Mom, he's putting A1 steak sauce on his hamburger.
My dear nephew, what is hamburger? Chopped ham? No, it's chopped steak. And what's better on steak than A1? A1 makes hamburgers taste like steak burgers. Take a bite. A1's herbs and spices blend with the meat's natural juices.
Delicious.
Sure.
It's really juicy and tastier. Best hamburger you'll ever have. Because it's a steak burger.
Hey, your uncle's steak burger.
A1 makes hamburgers taste like steak burgers.
Dad, why do you change your own oil?
To make sure I'm getting Valvoline, and because it's an easy way to save us money. Valvoline's got oil change instructions on the back.
Can I try, Dad?
Sure. We're saving about $10 every time we change our own oil filter.
Valvoline makes it simple, whether you do it yourself or do it together.
Dad, did you always want a son?
Thought I did.
Valvoline, when you want to do it yourself.
Well, if you hold an annual sports event for the 85th time and you see a record set, you'd think that was good news. But not if you're a Boston sports fan. Richard Wagner explains.
The nearly 7,000 competitors had a perfect day for the 85th running of the Boston Marathon. Cloudy, windy, and cold. About the first perfect day for anything in Boston in some time. The city's bankrupt schools are closed for the Easter holidays, and unless some money can be found this week, they won't reopen until next September. Boston's police force, upset about layoffs, decided over the weekend not to disrupt the race by holding a meeting in the middle of it, but the police are still unhappy. Unhappy, too, are the fans of Bill Rogers. The hometown boy won here the last 3 years, but in 1981, Rogers, like Boston, is having an off year. As the leaders came up Heartbreak Hill about 20 miles into the race, it wasn't Rogers in front, but Japanese star Toshihiko Seiko in the lead, dueling American Craig Virgin. Rogers was running third, and when they rounded the final turn, it was Seiko showing the way. At the finish, it was Seiko first, breaking Bill Rogers' record time by 1 second. Virgin was second, Rogers third. Among the women, another Boston product, Patty Catalano, a perennial bridesmaid, was a favorite. But it wasn't her year either. The female winner was a New Zealander, Alison Rowe, shattering the old women's record by almost 8 minutes. So the 85th Boston Marathon is history. Disappointing to many of this city's favorites and fans alike. It's just been that kind of year here. Richard Wagner, CBS News, Boston.
On the other hand, the Celtics are still in the basketball playoffs. That's our report this Monday. Dan Rather, CBS News, reporting from Washington.
Bye-bye. My mother wouldn't admit her age, but I'm 32, and 32 looks a lot better to me since Moisture Wear makeup. Moisture Wear actually helps skin over 25 look younger. It's makeup and moisturizer in one, smooths away dryness. Even tiny crow's feet seem to disappear. Who cares about age when your skin looks this terrific?
Moisture Wear makeup by CoverGirl.
Helps skin over 25 look younger.
Polident presents Martha Ray, movie star, denture wearer.
Folks, I've used Polident for years, but now there's something that cleans my dentures even better. It's fantastic. New Extra Strength Polident. Watch it work on this tough lab stain. New Extra Strength Polident has 50% more of a special stain remover. 50% more. Gets those stains clean, even in between. So take it from a big mouth. New Polident Green gets tough stains clean with extra strength.
From Washington, this has been the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Look for inspiration? A House committee is about to look for answers. We'll hear from Chairman Leo Zaffaretti tomorrow on Morning.
Former Governor Ray Blanton goes on trial.